After this story, you'll understand why looking at Saturn V rockets, Space Shuttles, Blue Origin, and SpaceX stuff had such a great impact on us and how it could change your family forever. This day started bad. In fact, the bad started the day before. I wasn't looking forward to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. But what was worse, the world knew it. We came into Huntsville in the rain, and it didn't let up. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center is located in Huntsville, Alabama, about 20 minutes east of I-65. This is a great stop for spring breakers as it's about 400 miles north of the Gulf of Mexico. But why is this museum here? Everything the United States knows about rocket science was developed and improved here in Huntsville at the Redstone Arsenal and now the Marshall Space Flight Center. Did you know Mission Command for the International Space Station is here in Huntsville? A little later, we'll share the rocket that took Americans to the moon. Right now, let's talk about the day and outside the park. So why, in this campground, was the day bad for me? After a 400-mile drive in spring break traffic, I was in our RV the night before. With the rain, there was nothing better to do. I didn't want to go to the museum. After a week on the beach, I was ready to beat the traffic and be home. But my brood had a different opinion. They wanted to see the museum we saw just 2 years prior. They were excited for tomorrow. I was not. Does that ever happen to you? Let us know in the comments. They were looking forward to touring the museum and all the attractions. Therefore, we were going to go to the museum. From the campground over the hotel, I could see the Saturn V rocket. Also, outside was a rocket park. Here, you can explore the Saturn I rocket and take a ride on the G-force accelerator. To the west, you can stand next to the space shuttle with boosters and fuel tank, although the shuttle has been off exhibit and repair. To the east, you can view military hardware developed with teams from Huntsville and take a ride on the Shuttle Simulator. Overnight, I dreaded the next day as the rain just kept extending into the day on the hourly forecast. But morning finally came, we ate breakfast, packed up the RV, and most of the time was spent cleaning muddy, wet dogs. And before the museum opened, we moved to the parking lot and hooked up the truck for the drive to Indiana. Everything went well, but you know what? I was still in a bad frame of mind. Who has ever been in this spot where you just want to get on the road? Alright, let's get into the gift shop and first exhibit. We continued with our plan and walked in the rain to the entrance so we could be the first in. The entrance is by the A-12 Oxcart supersonic spy aircraft. Similar in design to the SR-71 Blackbird, but could fly faster and higher. At least being first inside the museum would make the day better. But there are 2 doors to the gift shop entrance. Which one would they open first? To my dismay, the staff opened the other entrance to the gift shop, and I got to watch in pain, as everyone else entered the museum before they slowly walked over to our entrance and unlocked the door. That brought back memories of the day before being stuck in traffic in the slow lane. In the gift shop, you will find the normal fare. We saw a variety of shirts, toys, models, and trinkets. But unique to NASA museums is the world-famous Neapolitan space ice cream sandwiches. We saw a line to purchase tickets, but if you purchase online ahead of time, you can walk right in. Therefore, my day was about to get better. As we skipped the line and entered the museum, an exhibit I've never seen before was revealed through the doorway. Therefore, my mood, once discouraged, was now getting better. My brood at this point was glowing. They had the right frame of mind from the start. What did we discover but installations of SpaceX, the Atlas program, and Blue Origin all in front and towering above us? This exhibit is the next chapter in the space program. Here, the story of the next mission to the moon is detailed with NASA's Space Launch System as the tallest model in the room. Other pieces include Blue Origin, spacesuits, and the lunar lander. There is so much to dream about. The whole reason we chose to come back to the Space and Rocket Center is due to my kids. They have become involved in STEM programs, and my daughter has decided she wants to be an astronaut. But my son is currently taking an aviation class in school. 8 to 15 years old is a perfect time to visit the Rocket Center. He lived his dream a little bit later. Now, let's talk about the Saturn V and the space race. Later, we'll go behind the scenes of the museum. This part of the museum was getting a little busy for us, and due to the rain, we skipped the outside exhibits and therefore headed to the Davidson Center for Space Exploration and the home of the Saturn V rocket. Mounted above the museum, it's probably the biggest indoor museum exhibit in the country. The story of how we made it from World War II to the Saturn V is legendary. Wernher von Braun, a German rocket engineer, was pulled out of Europe by the Americans along with other rocket scientists and fully functional V-2 rockets, one of which is in the museum next to his office exhibit. Huntsville, Alabama is home to the Redstone Arsenal and modern-day rocket technology. Von Braun led the development of rocket science in the United States, but the story isn't mine. It is, however, the museum docent's story. You see, The emeritus docents in the museum worked with von Braun. In fact, the docent we talked with, Ron Paulus, who is an elderly man in a white lab coat with a youthful spirit, worked with him on all of it. If you've heard of it, they've worked on it. Gemini, Mercury, Apollo, Skylab, the shuttle, and the space stations. The men who worked with von Braun are at the museum daily and love to share their stories. We talked with him for over an hour, but we wished we had more time. As you travel through the Saturn V Hall, let your brood explore. They will find hands-on experiences that you will overlook. Getting into the capsules provides a real feel for how the astronauts spent most of their time in space. The number of buttons and switches in the cockpits are overwhelming. The seats are hard and uncomfortable. But these test pilots were courageous and highly intelligent to be able to navigate these vehicles. Dream about being as courageous as them someday. Throughout the museum, there are other hands-on experiences. Our brood enjoyed the moonshot simulation. If you are dreaming right now like we are, tap the like button. Let's talk about some of the items that have been to space and back, and coming up, the ultimate experience. In the hall, make sure to see and experience the artifacts that have returned from space and learn their stories. For example, the water tank from the Skylab fell to the Earth, but it survived and was found in Australia after losing orbit. Therefore, you can see it here next to the Skylab model. The Apollo 16 command module is on display at the end of the museum. It is amazing to see the bottom of the capsule and the burned and beaten remains of the heat shield. This capsule successfully protected John Young, Ken Mattingly, and Charles Duke on their mission to the moon. Young and Duke spent almost 3 days on the lunar surface and got to drive the car around the moon's surface. They collected over 200 pounds of lunar samples in April of 1972. Therefore, an actual moon rock is on display next to the capsule. The day could have ended here, and we would have been satisfied, but we had more to do. The weather was still overcast and we had an appointment. The shuttle experience is a covered backstage tour of the space station, lunar lander, spaceport, shuttle simulator, and mission control. Tickets should be purchased in advance as the extra experiences are very limited. If the shuttle experience isn't available, consider instead the Apollo VR experience, AC flight simulator, multi-access trainer, and scuba diving in the UAT tank. We'll put a link in our description where you can find experiences and prices. During the shuttle experience, we had 2 great guides. These were college-age space camp graduates with all the energy and excitement one could hope for. If anyone could brighten your day and give you a desire to work for NASA, these 2 could and did. Last on the tour was the space simulator. We strapped into the shuttle and my son landed the shuttle without assistance. At that moment, watching my kids listen and learn from these 2 wonderful guides, I discovered the joy I was missing for 2 days, knowing the future is bright for my brood and all those that tour the U.S. Space and Rocket Center reaching for the stars. To learn about camping at the park, watch this video next.